Imagine the most beautiful goddess accidentally killing you and forcing you to start your life in another world. But before you start your new adventure, you sacrifice all your memories of your current life, even the ones of seeing her, in exchange for overpowered abilities. The person you become now is Kelvin, who has no memory of you. Kelvin looks around, wondering where he is, and sees a start button appearing before him. Without second thought, Kelvin pushes the button, and the goddess of the world tells him that he sacrificed all of his memories to become overpowered. Kelvin panics, wondering why he would ever give up all of his memories, but the goddess goes on to show him that his skills are all nearly maxed out. This development excites Kelvin, and he notices that he's a summoner in this world. Kelvin wonders why this menu sounds like a woman, so the menu introduces herself. She is the goddess Melfina, and he's the first person to ever use her as his servant. She blushes, and Kelvin wonders why he picked this psycho chick to be his servant. They head off to the Adventurers Guild, and Melfina explains that it was a different goddess that killed him, so Melfina took responsibility and reincarnated him. But before losing all his memories, Melfina says that he spent an entire hour telling her how beautiful she is and how much he loved her, so Melfina agreed to take a vacation and go on an adventure with him. Kelvin wonders why he would lose all his memories if he liked her that much, but Melfina reminds him that he said he would fall in love with her all over again when he saw her. Kelvin dies of embarrassment and runs away from everyone. He wonders if he could summon Melfina so he can clap. Sorry, I mean meet her. Melfina explains to him that he doesn't have enough mana points to summon her because he's a simp, but that she'll be helping him become the strongest Giga Chad. They arrive at the Adventurers Guild, and Kelvin asks the receptionist, Angie, to become a member. As he goes on to fill out the paper, the goddess warns him not to let anyone know he's a summoner, as it is a job that would cause every kingdom to fight over him because of his abilities. Kelvin conceals his identity, writing down that he's a mage, and receives his guild membership. In this world, adventurers can go on quests that are up to one rank higher than their current level, but they tend to be more dangerous, so she warns him to be careful. In order to go up a rank, he must complete 10 quests in a row. Kelvin wonders what quests he can go on, and Angie gives him with 3 quests: defeating 3 blue slimes, harvesting herbs, or finding a lost cat. Melfina suggests going after the blue slimes so that he can make a contract with them. He heads off to the wilderness with his new wooden wand, and hides in bushes once he finds blue slimes. With his appraisal eye at rank S, Kelvin is able to see everything he needs to know about his opponents that are even 100 levels above him. Kelvin wonders if that means Melfina is above level 100 since he couldn't read her stats, but he sees a perfect opportunity to attack the slime and lunges forward. However, the slime dodges his attack and begins knocking him around as if it's toying with him. Kelvin wonders why slimes are so strong in this world, but builds up his courage to move faster to attack. With Kelvin's quick thinking, he allows the slime to dodge his first attack and fall into his trap, allowing him to hit it and reduce its HP to 3 points. Kelvin begins making a contract with the slime, extending his hand and forms the contract, but nearly collapses from all the mana it consumed. The slime fades into energy particles, traveling to Kelvin and combining with his spirit. Melfina asks him if he would like to name the slime, and he decides to name it Clotho. A warmness fills Kelvin's chest, realizing that the slime is happy with the name he just gave it. With his remaining mana points, he decides to summon the slime now, and Clotho comes out. Clotho is a straight-up savage, and is completely fine with killing his own kind to grow bigger. They sneak around until they find a group of 3 slimes and create a plan for attacking the 3 before them. Kelvin launches forward, using his magical ability to destroy the first one and allowing Clotho to take care of the rest. But Clotho happens to be a lot faster than Kelvin remembers, and Melfina tells him that he boosted all of its stats by 100 points since he's an S-rank summoner. After appraising it, Kelvin realizes why all the countries would want to fight over him, but Melfina tells him it's even worse than he imagines. Every other summoner in this world is around rank B or C, and he's the only one in the world who is an S-rank summoner. Clotho interrupts him, bringing him the last slime he needed for the quest. After getting their payment, Kelvin complains that Melfina didn't give him any money to start with, but she tells him that now he gets to experience the fun hardships of starting in a new world. As he continues walking throughout the day, he stumbles on a slave trader because of course we have to include elf slaves in isekais. The slave trader shows off his rare half-elf and Kelvin takes one good look at her before realizing she's the one he wants. At night, Kelvin heads to find an inn to sleep at, and the hostess, Claire, makes the best food he's ever eaten. Weeks pass, and Kelvin continues leveling the concealment skill to hide his stats from everyone. At the guild, Angie and the rest of the members notice that he's been solo this entire time but somehow leveling up faster than everyone else. This causes Angie to question his background, but he keeps everything secret from her. A man appears and interrupts them, asking Kelvin if he would like to party with him to fight the Black Ghost Knight for one of his quests. The mysterious man introduces himself to Kelvin charismatically, and everyone in the guild knows the reputation of this man and how he crushes the new adventurers. But they are all too afraid to say anything against him. Angie warns him that this is a dangerous mission, and Kelvin uses his eye of appraisal and notices that he has the title of murderer attached to him. Kelvin refuses his offer to party and asks him if he would like to instead make this a competition to see who would defeat the Ghost Knight first. The man accepts this challenge, and Kelvin knows that he's going to walk into his trap but wants to find out how powerful he's truly become after leveling up. The mysterious man walks towards his group, and one of them lets him know that his concealment is at least rank C, which worries their boss, Cashel. A big man asks him if he would be able to destroy someone, but Cashel tells him to have a little fun with his competition before crushing the kid. Later that night, they head into the Ghost Knight's castle and find skeletons waiting for them. Kelvin welcomes them, and they think he's an idiot for carrying such weak equipment. He reveals that he knows they've been after him all this time, and tells them that he's willing to fight right here and now. This startles the bandits, wondering if he's after their bounties. Kelvin doesn't know they've had bounties placed on them, and provokes the big guy to come and attack him. As the giant man rushes forward to punch Kelvin, he uses his special ability to trap him into quicksand that will slowly devour him. One of the bandits runs in fear from his abilities, and Cashel rushes forward towards him. All of this is just part of Kelvin's plan, and he summons Clotho to come out. Before the bandit, he sees a giant slime Gluttonia with the title of Devourer, and Clotho rushes at full speed to annihilate the bandit. As Kelvin was leveling up, he noticed Clotho being in a lot of pain, but Melfina informs him that he's just evolving into a slime Gluttonia that has the power of destroying an entire country. Clotho strikes the bandit into the wall, knocking him unconscious with a single blow. The giant man punches towards the ground to free himself, but the slime restrains him with ease. Cashel rushes forward toward Kelvin and activates his ultimate ability. He will now show his secret arts that are able to annihilate gods before him. Kelvin ties all of them up and heads off to the main event. He opens the door, seeing the Black Ghost Knight standing before him, a level 53 boss, and Kelvin is excited to have him as part of his party. Kelvin tells the knight that he's no longer here to fight with him, but that he wants to form a contract. Hours later, the knight is just sitting with Kelvin, telling him that this is the first time someone's ever done anything other than fighting him. Gerard happens to be a friendly old guy and hands Kelvin candy. He eats it without second thought, but spits it out. Gerard tells him that it's old but didn't expect Kelvin to be the dumbest human alive to eat it.
You're a victim!
Kelvin asks him if he would like to make a contract with him, but the knight tells him that he's only willing to serve a king who is worthy of his power. They prepare to battle out, and Kelvin rushes forward with a wind shot. Clotho jumps from behind, attempting to restrain him, but Gerard foresees all of their attacks. This leaves Kelvin with little options, so he casts a wall of stone and allows Clotho to self-destruct. Gerard isn't fazed by his attacks, and nearly cuts Kelvin down with his slash. Clotho continues attempting to distract him, but Gerard's incredible speed holds off all of the slime arms. His stance is compromised, and Kelvin unleashes his magical ability to gravitate him downward. As Gerard is about to be crushed, he remembers his loved one, and his strength begins to enhance. He remembers a plague sweeping through the nation, killing his wife and sickening his daughter. The entire nation fell apart, and Gerard leaves the nation attempting to find a place for his daughter, but she dies before he can ever get her treatment. His only mission in life is to avenge his nation.
Koni, Betty, Washiwa.
The entire guild rejoices upon hearing that he got rid of the knight, as no one had ever achieved that feat. And with the criminals behind the bars, they raise a toast in his name for his glorious win. Angie congratulates him on his triumph, and he thinks that the Black Knight was a formidable opponent. As he walks away, Gerard asks him if that girl is a candidate for his harem. But Melfina yells at him that she's his fiancée and won't let anyone else near him. Out of the 7 remaining slots, Kelvin has already occupied 3, but he's already having a headache trying to deal with those 3. He argues with them, but stumbles onto an old man who thinks that today is a beautiful day to be adventuring. Nothing through these adventures, not even managing to make a contract with Gerard after defeating him, could prepare him for this moment. The man before him happens to be the guild master and asks him if he is perhaps from another world. This catches Kelvin off guard, but he realizes that his appraising eye is rank A, so his concealment skill of rank B leaves him defenseless, and his identity is now exposed. Inside the office, the guild master asks him if it was his servants that allowed him to defeat the knight, using his powerful eye to deduce that Kelvin is a summoner. Kelvin's back is against the wall, but Gerard tells him to straighten up because it would be more important to share his secret with friends to grow powerful. Kelvin acknowledges that the guild master was able to discover his class, but asks him why he didn't do anything about the criminals. The guild master apologizes because their leader happened to be a noble from another country, so it might cause war if he was unable to obtain solid evidence before first arresting them. The master informs him that he'd been making preparations, but Kelvin just happened to swoop in and fix all of the problems. Kelvin takes a cup of tea and tells him to get to the point. The master informs him that he just wants to be friends because he's met several others from the other world before. They happen to be heroes of the Holy Empire, and Melfina remembers that she was the one who reincarnated them, and that she will tell him about them later. The guild master tells Kelvin that those heroes were summoned because the Demon King revival is upon them. All of the monsters roaming the continent have grown much stronger, and the Demon King's revival would also explain the Black Knight's immense strength. The heroes can't alone protect the continent, so Kelvin realizes his role will be to protect the guild master's city in the meantime. He informs him that he will be paid appropriately and allow him to take any adventure, but asks him coldly why he hid his identity this entire time. The guild master knew he was trying to stay away from politics, so he promises him his freedom as long as he helps their city out. The guild master swears that he will allow Kelvin to become the strongest adventurer in all of the lands before anyone else takes him away. Kelvin admires his resolve and agrees to help him out, shaking his hand. Inside the inn, Claire hugs him and congratulates him on his great achievement of being promoted. She promises him extra food tonight and gives him lunch in the meantime. Gerard asks him if she's another candidate for his harem, and Melfina starts crying because he's already cheating on her. While eating, Kelvin asks Melfina about the heroes she summoned, and she told him that she summoned some random kids after the priestess performed the summoning ritual. Kelvin thinks back to what the guild master said about the revival of the demon lord, and remembers how close the fight with Gerard was. This only inspires him achieve his next goal, so he summons Clotho and asks him for the reward money he had him store away. He wonders if this amount of gold is going to be enough, and asks Claire to make him another plate for tonight. Kelvin walks around with a smile on his face, and he screams in the middle of town that he's going to buy a female slave. Gerard laughs because his master happens to be a plot legend, but Kelvin tells him that he just wanted to enhance his party by having another companion to help him out. Kelvin says that one of them caught his eye, and Melfina gets jealous, but Kelvin reminds her that his fight with Gerard was too close for him to constantly battle alone. Kelvin wants a slave that wasn't touched by a master so he can touch all of her skill points. He also wants one that can provide him with attacks from the rear. Near the slave site, he sees a man running around after being burned. The slave owner puts out the fire, but the guy yells at him that he will not be buying that cursed slave. Kelvin looks at the elf girl that's about to cry, remembering that she's the one he's been wanting. The owner tells him that she has a curse that burns anyone who touches her, and Kelvin uses his appraisal eye to see the fire dragon curse, but also makes sure that no one else has touched her. Kelvin asks Melfina how he would break that curse, and she tells him that he needs a very high-ranked blessing to save her. The elf girl stares in hope that someone will finally save her, but just sees Kelvin walking away.
It's an evil world we live in.
Later on, the slave owner complains that she's a worthless cursed elf, but Kelvin comes back with a smile on his face and asks if he could still buy her. The slave owner asks him how he's still willing to buy a cursed elf, but he just hands him the lump of money and buys her. The elf girl cries, but Kelvin opens the steel bars. The owner tells her that he's going to be her master from now on, and she finally gets to exit and look at the sky without bars in her way, because from now on, the only bar in her way is going to be Kelvin's.
What do you mean by that?
Kelvin takes her back with him, and the elf girl thanks him for purchasing her and tells him her name is Ephil. Kelvin introduces himself and asks her if she could join his party. She apologizes because of the curse attached to her, and she tells him she's been a slave ever since she was born, and that she doesn't even know her parents. Kelvin apologizes that she's been through many hard things in her life. She runs away so that she doesn't burn him, but Kelvin comes back and tells her to trust him. His hand activates a magical ability, and he breaks her curse. He pats her on the head, telling her that she won't suffer like that anymore. He tells her that she's free now, and that she will never hurt anyone else with the cursed flames anymore. Ephil breaks down crying, thanking him for finally being free. Kelvin thanks Melfina for telling him how to obtain the blessing using his skill points, and Melfina tells him that he can have her until he summons her. Inside the inn, Kelvin asks Claire if she would be able to give her some clothes after dinner, but Claire tells him that she will do it before. Claire tells him that she won't allow a cute girl to eat before being dressed like that. She touches Claire and gets excited that she doesn't burn her. Claire, however, grabs her and pulls her to the change. At night, Kelvin waits for hours to get food, but Claire finally comes out and introduces the brand new Ephil. Kelvin is stunned by her beauty, and Ephil asks him what he thinks. However, our man is a simp and hasn't ever talked to a cute girl before, so Claire tries to encourage him to say something. He apologizes and calls her beautiful, and she burns up from embarrassment, telling him that she'll do her best in serving him. Claire apologizes for having him wait for dinner, so she goes back with Ethel to prepare dinner. Kelvin thinks that Claire is a genius for having her dress up in a maid outfit just like his fantasies. That night, Ephil and Kelvin ate Claire's delicious cooking, and Ephil cried for finally eating a normal meal. Kelvin introduced her to the rest of his party and explained that he's a summoner. He helped Ephil pick the most important skill points, but also allowed her to pick the rest of the skills alone so she can make her own decisions. Everything went great until Kelvin had to sleep next to Ephil, because his plot development fantasies kept him up all night. Watch this next video. Till next time, my fellow legendary plot masters.